Hi, my name's Mike Parsons and I will be the instructor for this course. The intent of the videos, and there will be two most days, one some days, will be to sort of consolidate what it is that you need to know to be able to handle quizzes and tests. So what I'm trying to do is give you a preamble into what it is that you are going to see and the things you're going to be responsible for. What we are studying in the first lesson is kinematics, and this is Unit 1, Activity 1. So you go to your content, you hit Unit 1, and in Activity 1 you will see kinematics as the topic that you are studying. There are two sections of content that you are going to go through, and this video is going to hit those two sections of content. Now, what kinematics is how things move. We're looking at airplanes, race cars, jets, people. That's what we're looking at. Things are going to seem a little trite at first. You're going to see some definitions that you're wondering why you're having to do this, but it's because we're going to jump up to a higher level as we go along. The first thing that we're going to look at is distance. So distance has a symbol of d, but we often do change in distance. So we want to often see how we've moved along. So it's going to be delta d for distance. I would say that in physics, the most important thing to get down is that 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. Now, when we get into other sections, we will be looking at things that are extremely small. And if we have to do conversions at that point, I'll show you how. Another thing we have to do in kinematics, or that's very important, is time. And time is measured usually in seconds. It can also be measured in hours. Now, this is very important in physics. If you want to go and do conversions between time in seconds and hours, there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. We'll come back to this later. This is going to be important when we're doing speed. Now, the reason that we introduce distance and time is because we need both of these things to come up with speed. So speed is a combination of the distance you traveled over a given amount of time. So speed equals distance over time. If we make this into a formula, we can rearrange that formula. Now, there are videos today to teach you how to rearrange formulas. I'm going to do something that I don't like to do. I'm going to give you a triangle, but it's often a good starting place for people. So we can rearrange this formula to get other formulas. So for example, if I want time, I cover up the t in the triangle. Time is equal to distance over speed. If I want distance, I cover up the d. Because the s and t are beside each other, that's multiplication. Distance equals speed times time. So what you're going to be doing today is you are going to be looking at distance, time, and speed. Now, I said there is going to be something that's going to be very important, and that is going to be a conversion, because the two common ways that we measure is meters per second and kilometers per hour when we talk about speed. Now, I said I was going to give little hints as I go along towards the quiz. It's always some type of distance over some type of time. If you go from meters to second to kilometers per hour, so say you had 10 meters per second and you wanted to know what it was in kilometers per hour, multiply that by 3.6, and that will give you 36 kilometers per hour. If you want to go back, it's divide by 3.6. Hey folks, an important thing with videos is replay them. Do them over and over again if you're having troubles, and it's a good way to learn. You can't replay your teacher, but you can definitely replay your videos. Okay. In physics, and by the way, hey, one lesson done right there. This is lesson 2. Now, I'm going to back up for a minute. when we deal with speed, we're going to call this scalar. That means it has no direction. This term is going to be very important in this course. What we're going to look at next are vectors. Vectors are things that have directions. Directions can be positive or negative. Directions can be like north, south, east, and west. So directions can be forwards, backwards. So just F or B. So a direction can be what we want it to be, but when we do the next thing in this unit, we're going to need to have directions because they're going to be important. Let me tell you why directions are important. If we take a look at somebody running around a track and we want to know how fast they are, we don't care what direction. When we talk about speed, we don't care what direction they're going in. We just want to know how fast they are. When we look at something like velocity, it's another term that people use, and people often confuse it with speed. It's very similar. We would talk about velocity when we talk about things that are very important. So we talk about velocity if we were talking about jets going across the Atlantic Ocean. It's very important to know the direction they're going in. So we always have a vector or direction when we talk about velocity. Now, I've already made a small mistake, so I'm going to go back and correct it. The symbol for speed is not S. Believe it or not, the symbol for speed is V. Okay, and I'm going to explain why in a minute. They don't use S because S is for time, V is for speed. Now, if we went to velocity, velocity is also a V, just like speed, but it's got an arrow over the top, which means you must have a direction associated with it. So whenever you give that velocity, you must say north, south, east, or west, or whatever it is that you want to say. The lesson we're about to do is the same as the first lesson, except for now we're speaking about vectors. So displacement is like a distance with a direction. Remember, speed is important for certain things, velocity is important for certain things. If the direction is important, velocity is going to be, or the vector is going to be very important, and we will use velocity. What we have to do now is we have to talk about velocity, position, and displacement. Now, position and displacement are used interchangeably quite a bit. They probably shouldn't be. We will probably be using the term displacement more in this course. What is a position? A position is where you are relative to a start point. We usually use the term position when we're talking about something like a number line, so we're one-dimensional. So if this is our start point right here, let's say this is a house, and you are standing 10 meters and you are east of the house, that is your position, 10 meters east of the house. Okay, so what we use for position is we use a D with an arrow over top of it. Now, displacement is a lot like position, but displacement has to do with things that are in 2 and 3 dimensions usually. I'm just going to move to a fresh sheet here. If we had a starting point, like a house, and a person traveled like this, and we wanted their distance, we would add up D1, D2, D3, and D4 to get their distance. If we want displacement, displacement is the shortcut from the beginning to the end. So all you would measure for displacement, and the symbol for displacement is a delta sign, which means change in a D with a vector arrow over it, which is change in position. So displacement is change in position. Don't get too caught up in the terminology. All you have to know is to get distance, we measure the whole route. To get displacement, we measure the shortcut between the two. Let's say that our distance, if we added them all up, was equal to 20 centimeters. Let's say that our displacement was a lot shorter, and it always will be because it is the shortcut. It's 10 centimeters east. We always need a direction when we do displacement. Okay? So distance is for things where we don't care what direction they're in. Displacement, when we're talking about missiles and airplanes, we definitely care what direction they're going in. Now, the symbol for speed is V. The symbols for velocity is V with the vector arrow over it. So it's basically the same formula. Velocity equals displacement over time. Speed is equal to distance over time. So if you want the velocity, take the shortcut, divide it by the time. Good luck with the work today. There is a 10-mark quiz after today's work. You can access it by going to the quizzes icon at the top, tap on the U1A1, and you will have 10 questions to answer. Be sure when you go through the course material that you try the questions. You will note that the answers are given so you can check your answers when you are done. Good luck.